So I bought a DJI Phantom 3 Standard Edition. Pretty cool drone, but on the first day, the controller slipped out of my hand and I dropped it. When it hit the ground, it hit the top left side of the controller, scuffing it up a little bit, but also breaking the S2 three-way switch. Also, when it dropped, it popped off the antenna and I had to use a piece of metal to hold it back in place. But as well, it pulled the wire apart from the inside, so I had to take it apart and do a hack job and glue it back together. So I went on eBay and I was able to find this part for a few bucks. It looked very similar. I also did contact the DJI support, but they didn't help much. They told me I had to send everything back to them for inspection, which is kind of dumb because I just got the device and I only needed the switch. So I was glad to find a replacement on eBay. I'll include a link to the listing in the description. So let's take this thing apart. If the bottom does not look like this, you might have an advanced or pro edition. You might need to double check. First, take these 4 screws out. After you get the 4 screws out, begin to open it slowly from the bottom where the charging port is. Make sure you don't open it all the way, otherwise you rip out some wires. There are 3 wires that you need to disconnect. Take your time disconnecting them carefully. After you disconnect the cables, continue to take the controller apart. It's kind of held together at the top where the antenna is, so be careful when you wiggle that out. The switch is held into the controller from the front. I didn't have a wide enough screwdriver, so I just used a butter knife. So looking at the new switch and then comparing it to the old one, they look like they're the exact same thing. So here is the bootleg job I did at fixing the antenna cable. I had to hot glue the wire back on. It worked for the most part, but the range was affected. Since I really didn't know what I was doing, I didn't want to solder it all on yet. I wanted to test it, make sure everything works. So I went ahead and cut all the wires off, exposed the end of the wires, and then I fed them through the holes that are inside of the switch. After connecting the wires, I used hot glue to hold them in place. I'll solder this on after confirming everything works. And normally you would replace the antenna right here if you took it off, and then begin to put the controller back together. But this is a 2-part video, and the second part will be replacing the antenna.